Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a total game changer from Chapter 4 of Marcus Sheridan's Endless Customers. We're talking about a framework that literally shifts how we communicate with buyers. If your company's out there churning out articles, social posts, the whole shebang, but just not seeing results, well, we're going to look at exactly why. And we're going to explore the specific topics your customers are desperately searching for, but your competitors are frankly terrified to talk about.
Okay, let's dive into this. Over 90%, just let that sink in for a second. That is the staggering percentage of marketing efforts that completely fail to generate qualified leads. I mean, no way, right? 9 out of 10 times companies are pouring time, money, and creative energy into producing content that doesn't actually move the needle at all. It brings in zero revenue. It's this massive drain on resources, leaving business owners and marketing teams pulling their hair out, wondering why all their hard work is just being ignored by both humans and algorithms alike.
So what does this all mean? Well, the reason for this massive 90% failure rate is actually kind of simple. Most companies are building content for the wrong audience. Think about casual lookers for a second. These are folks who are just browsing, miles away from making a decision, or maybe not even in the market at all. And yet, most businesses create this fluffy, top-of-the-funnel content just for them. But then, we have the actual buyers. These are the people with their wallets out, who know they need your product and they're super close to making a choice. To reach them, you literally have to flip your strategy upside down. You've got to answer their tough, highly specific questions. Because if you aren't addressing the real, gritty concerns of an actual buyer, your content is just making noise.
Now, I want you to stop for a second and really think about this. Break the fourth wall with me here. Think about the last time you bought a significant item on Amazon. Maybe it was a shiny new kitchen appliance, some expensive tech, or even just a high-end pair of shoes. When you were sitting there on that product page, what exactly were you looking for before you felt comfortable enough to click Add to Cart? Actually, scratch that. You didn't just look at the picture and hit buy, did you? No, you went hunting for very specific types of information.
And here is exactly what you looked for, which Amazon, by the way, masterfully provides on literally every single page. First off, you wanted the upfront price, obviously. Then you probably scrolled down to the Q&A section to see what problems people were having. You checked out the side-by-side comparisons to weigh alternative models. You absolutely read the unfiltered reviews, and let's be honest with ourselves, you probably went straight to the one-star reviews just to see the horror stories, right? Finally, you kept an eye out for those top choice or bestseller badges. As consumers, we absolutely demand these specific answers before we drop items in our carts. We just don't take chances. Amazon gets this, which is exactly why they're the most successful retailer in history.
And this brilliantly illustrates a massive disconnect in the business world today. It's a phenomenon Marcus Sheridan calls ostrich marketing. It's incredibly ironic when you think about it. When we're acting as buyers, we demand to know the price, the problems, the comparisons, and the reviews. But man, the second we put on our business hats and start marketing our own products, we bury our heads straight in the sand. We hide from these exact topics because we're terrified of scaring people away or giving our competitors a leg up. We flat out refuse to answer the very questions we demand answers to when we're the ones doing the buying.
As Marcus Sheridan points out, businesses often avoid these crucial topics online, crossing their fingers and hoping to save them for a one-on-one sales conversation. But by then, it's way too late. Because the modern buyer is doing like 80% of their research before they ever even speak to a salesperson. When a buyer comes to your website looking for a price and can't find it, what emotion do they feel? Frustration. Sheridan calls frustration the F word of the internet. They know that you know the answer, and by hiding it, you instantly destroy their trust. And in today's landscape, once trust is gone, the buyer is gone for sure.
So the crucial point is, we've got to stop being the ostrich. We have to lean hard into radical transparency. And that brings us to the core solution of our explainer today, the Big Five. These are the 5 exact subjects that every single buyer is completely obsessed with researching before making a purchase. When you openly and honestly create content around these 5 specific areas, you drive more leads and more sales than any other subject matter combined, period. Let's break down each of these 5 pillars so you can see exactly how to apply them to your own business.
All right, topic number 1 is the biggest taboo of them all, cost and price. Everyone wants to know what they can expect to pay.
Yet most businesses hide this. They give the classic, every job is different, or, well, it depends. Or worse, they're just paranoid their competitors will find out what they charge. But here's the secret, you don't actually have to give an exact number. What really matters is that you explain why it depends. You need to clearly discuss what drives the cost of your product up and what drives it down. Why are some options a premium and others cheap? When you're the one willing to actually explain the marketplace pricing, you build immediate, undeniable transparency and trust.
Now, moving right along to topic 2, problems. What's super interesting here is that as buyers, we worry way more about what could go wrong than what could go right. We're actively hunting for the negatives. Sheridan introduces the law of the coin here. You know, every coin has two sides, and every product has pros and cons. There are absolutely reasons someone shouldn't buy from you. So instead of forcing your buyer to go to a competitor or some third-party site to find your flaws, address the elephant in the room yourself. When you willingly point out who your product is not a good fit for, you're showing buyers that you care far more about them making a smart, informed decision than you care about just making a quick sale.
Moving on to topic 3, versus and comparisons. We naturally love to compare things, don't we? It's how our brains make informed decisions, stacking one option against another to find the best possible fit. Look, if a customer is trying to decide between your software and your biggest competitor's software, they're going straight to search engines and typing in your company versus the competitor. If you haven't written an honest, unbiased article comparing the two, you are entirely leaving the narrative up to someone else. Take control of the conversation. Be the ultimate trusted teacher in your space.
Topics 4 and 5 really go hand in hand. Reviews and best in class. Buyers want the good, the bad, and the ugly. They want unfiltered reviews so they know exactly what to expect. And when they're starting their research, they are constantly searching for the best. Best roofing company near me, best CRM software, top marketing agencies. Even if they don't end up pulling the trigger on the most premium option, they still want to understand the full landscape of choices. If you aren't actively leaning into these topics and creating content around them, you're basically invisible in the most critical moments of the buyer's journey.
I want to give you a very practical tool to take away from this explainer today. The next time you're sitting in a marketing meeting or talking with your sales team and someone says, well, I don't think we should put our pricing online, or we definitely can't talk about our competitor's product, I want you to ask this specific question. Are we being the ostrich right now? Use this as a gut check. Are you hiding from the truth because of fear, or are you acting in a way that builds ultimate trust with your buyer?
Let's move to and see how this builds in the real world with a stunning piece of undeniable proof. Marcus Sheridan actually discovered this entire framework through his own swimming pool business during the 2008 recession. They were struggling, big time. So they decided to stop being the ostrich. They published an article titled, "How Much Does a Fiberglass Pool Cost?" They didn't give one exact price. Instead, they educated the buyer on everything that makes a pool cost what it does, the accessories, the landscaping, the works. They became the very first company in the world to fully explain fiberglass pool pricing online.
And the results? Absolutely staggering. Because they refused to hide from that scary pricing question, that single article generated millions of website views. It brought in thousands of qualified leads, where buyers were actually thanking them for finally just being honest. And most importantly, to put this into perspective, we know through their tracking software that this one piece of Big 5 content generated over $35 million in revenue. $35 million, simply because they were willing to say what everyone else in their industry was too terrified to say.
Which brings us to the core thesis of our explainer today. Regardless of what you sell, whether it's B2B software, consumer goods, or highly specialized services, trust is the business we're all in. Ignorance is not bliss, guys. Ignorance breeds doubt, and doubt breeds inaction. When you openly address cost, problems, comparisons, reviews, and the best-in-class options, you're practicing radical transparency. You stop acting like a typical salesperson, and you start acting like a trusted teacher. And in the modern digital age, the most trusted teacher always gets the sale.
We've covered a lot of ground today. We looked at why 90% of marketing fails, how to emulate Amazon's brilliant framework, and the incredible, undeniable power of the Big 5 topics. So, I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative thought to take back to your own business strategy. Look at your website, look at your content, and look at how you sell. Are you giving your buyers exactly what they are desperately searching for, or are you letting fear hold you back? Are you ready to pull your head out of the sand? Thanks so much for joining me on The Explainer, and hey, here's to building massive trust with your future customers.